Good morning. My name is Elijah Harrington. I'm 69 years old, and I need to talk about something that happened 3 months ago. It's not easy to talk about. When I think about it, I still feel a physical punch, right here in the gut. A cold fist closing around my heart. The man who did this to me, he was my own son. Daniel, the boy I raised. The boy I taught to ride a bike and bait a hook. He betrayed me in a way I didn't think was humanly possible. But I need you to listen closely. This isn't a story about me asking for your pity. I've had enough of that. This is a story about dignity and what a man will do to get it back. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. It was March 15th, a Tuesday. I remember the air was thick and damp, promising a rain that wouldn't come. It was late, almost 11 at night. We were supposed to fly out the next day. The big trip. Paris, Rome, Barcelona, 3 weeks. I'd spent 2 months planning every single detail. $42,000. That was my entire pension and every last cent of the inheritance my Rosalind left me. May she rest in peace. $42,000 to give my family the world. But I'd done something foolish. In all the excitement, I had left our passports at Daniel's house. I'd been over there letting the grandkids, Mia and Connor, look at the travel brochures one last time. I called Daniel. No answer. Called Veronica, his wife. Straight to voicemail. They're probably packing, I mumbled to myself in the car, turning the key. Just go get them, Elijah. You have the key. He'd given me that key years ago. For any emergency, Dad, he'd said, clapping me on the shoulder. You're always welcome. I drove across town to their neighborhood, Beacon Hills. Their house was dark, all the front lights off. It made me hesitate. Maybe they were asleep? But the flight was at noon. I couldn't risk them oversleeping. I parked at the curb, my old sedan silent, and walked up the stone path. I used the key, the one he gave me, and let myself in through the side door, into the mudroom. Quiet as a mouse. I didn't want to wake the kids. The house smelled like, I don't know, stale takeout and anxiety. I stepped into the hallway, heading for the kitchen counter where I'd left the blue document folder. And that's when I heard them. Voices. Daniel and Veronica were in the kitchen, their voices low and sharp. I stopped, one foot still on the hallway runner, suddenly feeling like an intruder. I was about to call out, "Hey, it's just me!" But then I heard my name. I just can't believe the old man actually did it, Veronica said. Her voice was sharp, like broken glass. $42,000. He's such a fool. I froze. My hand, halfway to my pocket, just stayed there. I couldn't breathe. He's not a fool, Daniel's voice came. Cold. So cold. He's an ATM, and I just made the biggest withdrawal of my life. But what about him? Veronica asked. We can't drag him around Europe for 3 weeks, Daniel. He'll slow us down. He'll want to see all those boring museums and talk about the good old days. It's our vacation. It's my vacation, Daniel snapped. I'm the one who's had to listen to him, manage him for my entire life. My blood went ice cold. Manage me? Don't worry, Daniel said, and I heard the sound of a refrigerator opening, a bottle cap twisting. The plan is set. It's perfect. What plan? She whispered. You said you'd handle it. I did. I could hear the smile in his voice, that smug, superior smile. We get to the airport tomorrow. I go check on the tickets. I come back, face all crumpled, looking devastated. He paused for dramatic effect. Even then, I recognized the showmanship. I look him right in the eye and I say, "Dad, I can't believe this. They oversold the flight. They don't have a seat for you." He'll swallow it. He always does. He always believes everything I say, Daniel bragged. Veronica laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. It was a high, thin, cruel sound. "Oh, you are brilliant, Daniel. Absolutely evil." "And what if he checks?" she asked, her voice suddenly nervous. "Check what? How? By the time he figures out how to talk to an agent, we'll be through security. I'll tell him we'll meet him in Paris in a day or two, that we'll sort it out when we land. And then? And then we block his number," Daniel said, his voice flat. "He's an old man. He'll be confused. He'll probably just go home. By the time he figures out we're not sorting it out, we'll be in Rome." My keys. The keys to his house, the emergency key, were still in my hand. They suddenly felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. I felt them slip from my fingers. They hit the tile floor in the mudroom with a metallic crash that sounded like a gunshot in the silent house. I heard the kitchen chairs scrape. "What was that?" Veronica hissed. "Who's there?" Daniel yelled, his voice suddenly hard. My heart was a drum against my ribs. I didn't think. I just moved. I yanked the side door open, stumbled out into the darkness, and pulled it shut. I didn't slam it, but it clicked. A loud, final click. I ran. I'm 69 years old, and I ran down that stone path like a terrified kid. I fumbled for my own car keys, my hands shaking so badly I could barely fit the key in the lock. I got in, jammed the key into the ignition, and peeled away from the curb. I didn't even turn on my headlights until I was 2 blocks away. I drove. I don't know where. I just drove. I saw a park and pulled into the empty lot, killing the engine. And I sat there, in the dark, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. "The old relic," I whispered. That's what Veronica had called me in the kitchen. I'd missed it at first, but it came back to me. Without the old relic hanging around. ATM. Old relic. Fool. The words just circled. I sat there for an hour, maybe 2. I didn't cry. I was too far gone for that. It was the death of 34 years of love. It was a murder, and I was the only witness. I finally drove home, to my big, empty house on Pinecrest Avenue. The house Rosalind and I had bought 40 years ago. It felt different, colder. I walked straight to the liquor cabinet, past the photos of Daniel's graduation, of his wedding, of Mia and Connor's smiling faces, lies, all of it. I poured a Woodford Reserve, a good one. I sat in the armchair where Rosalind used to knit. The house was silent, and I let myself remember. Daniel was right about one thing. I always believed him. I remembered, 3 years ago, his Honda. "Dad, the transmission is shot. It's $2,500. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't get to work." I didn't even ask questions. I just wrote the check. My salvation, he'd called me. I remembered last year. Veronica's doctor's appointments. "It's serious, Dad. The co-pays are killing us. It's $1,800. I pulled that from my savings. I didn't ask why his top-tier corporate insurance didn't cover it. "Dad, the kids' tuition, the new school. It's $3,200 for the deposit. For their future, Dad." I sold my gold wedding watch to cover that, the one Rosalind gave me on our wedding day. "You're a lifesaver, Dad," he'd said, hugging me, his hand patting my back while the other one took the cash. I ate cornbread and collard greens for weeks to make up that difference. I told myself it was for the grandkids. I looked at my hands, old and spotted. These were the hands that had built a business, Harrington Tours, from nothing. The hands that had held my dying wife. And these were the hands that had signed check after check, handing over my dignity piece by piece to a son who saw me as a machine, an ATM. "Idiot," I said, the word cutting the silence in the room. "You absolute blind fool." I had confused love with being a provider. I had confused being a father with being a bank. I had raised a manipulator by giving him everything and asking for nothing, not even basic respect. My anger wasn't just at him, it was at me. I had allowed this. I had trained him to see me this way. I looked at the clock, 2 a.m., and then I felt something new. The fog of shock and grief burned away, and something hot and hard took its place. Rage. A cold, clean, purifying rage. I stood up. "No more," I said to the empty room. "The ATM is closed." I walked into my old home office. I hadn't used the desk in years. It was still covered in Rosalind's things. Her little notebook, her favorite pen. I swept them aside gently. "He's got shark eyes, Elijah," she'd told me years ago. We were arguing about lending Daniel money for a down payment. "That boy has shark eyes when he talks about money." I'd gotten angry at her. "He's our son, Rosalind. Don't talk about him like that." "You're right," I said to her photo on the desk. "You were right all along, my love. I was a fool. But I'm not going to be a fool anymore." I sat down and pulled the travel folder from my briefcase. The one I'd never retrieved from Daniel's house was a dummy. The real one was with me. I spread the documents out like a hand of poker. $42,000. Vouchers for the Savoy Grand in Paris. First-class tickets on Aerolux. Reservations for a private gondola in Rome. Private guides. Michelin star dinners. I had built this perfect, beautiful, expensive lie. Now I was going to tear it down. I pulled my old ledger from the bookshelf, the one from Harrington Tours, my contacts, my real contacts. Not the front-facing websites, but the back-end numbers. The people who owed me favors. The people who had worked with me for 20 years. My hand was shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline. I started making a list. Patrick Morgan, my old partner. Now a VP at Global Travel Partners, the company that handled all the European hotel bookings. Catherine Rollins, my secretary for 15 years, sharp as a tack. She knew the airline systems inside and out. She worked for the consortium that managed Aerolux's back end. Robert Silver. He ran the best tour operations in Barcelona. I looked at the list. It was 3 a.m. I picked up the phone. I knew it was early. I didn't care. "Elijah," I said to my reflection in the dark window, "it's time to remember who the hell you are." This wasn't just a cancellation. This was an eviction. He was evicting me from the trip. I was evicting him from my life. At 5:01 a.m. on the dot, I made the first call. I got Patrick Morgan's voicemail. I left a message. "Patrick, it's Elijah Harrington. It's an emergency, a family emergency. I need to cancel the entire European package, all of it, today. Call me." 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was Patrick. "Elijah? What's going on? Are you sick? Is it your heart?" "My heart's fine, Patrick, but my family isn't. I need it all canceled. The Savoy Grand, the hotels in Rome and Barcelona, everything." Patrick was silent for a moment. He knew my voice. He knew this wasn't a whim. "You know the penalties, Elijah," he said softly. "Last minute. You're going to lose. God, you'll lose at least 30%. "Make it 50, I don't care," I said, my voice hard. "I want it gone. I want those rooms empty, and I want confirmation. Give me 30 minutes. he said. I'll get to the office. I'll handle it myself. That was easy. He was a friend. The next call was harder. Catherine Rollins. She was all business, always. I dialed her direct line. She picked up on the second ring, her voice already awake and sharp. Rollins. Catherine, it's Elijah Harrington. Mr. Harrington, it's been a long time. What can I do for you at this hour? I hope you're not calling to tell me you're unretiring. I tried to keep it light. Not a chance. I need a favor, Catherine. A big one. I need to cancel a set of Aerolux tickets. First class. Harrington D, V, M, and C. Silence. I heard her tapping on a keyboard. Flight 771, ATL to CDG. Leaves today at noon, she said. That's the one. I need them canceled. Mr. Harrington, she said, and her voice went from professional to icy. Those are non-refundable legacy tickets. You booked them with your old industry discount. You know the rules. Cancellation is a 100% loss. I don't care about the money. Just cancel them. I don't want them on that plane. She stopped typing. Mr. Harrington. Elijah. What is this? Is this some petty family drama? Are you trying to punish your son? Catherine, I just need you to… No, she said, her voice sharp. I won't do it. I'm not getting in the middle of a family spat. My job is to manage bookings, not domestic disputes. Handle your own family, Mr. Harrington. And she hung up. I stared at the phone. My heart hammered. My entire plan. It was falling apart. Patrick could cancel the hotels, but if Daniel still had the plane tickets, they'd just go. They'd figure out the hotels later. I was desperate. I was about to call her back, to beg. And then my phone rang. It was her. I snatched it up. Catherine? My son, she said. Her voice was completely different. It was flat, empty. His name is Michael. Last year he told me my house was too big for me, that I should move into a nice community so he and his wife could look after my finances. I said nothing. He put me in a one-bedroom assisted living apartment. It's fine. He sold my house. He sold my furniture. He told me it was all in the trust. 2 months ago, I called the bank. The trust is empty, Elijah. Catherine, I whispered. I'm so sorry. I am too, she said, and her voice was suddenly alive. But it was a terrible, cold life. I was a fool. I was a good mother. And I was a fool. I heard her fingers fly across the keyboard. It sounded like machine gun fire. Aerolux Flight 771, she said. 5 tickets. You're right. They're not just non-refundable. They are now 100% non-transferable and a 100% non-rebookable. What are you doing? I'm flagging the booking. Suspicious activity. Potential fraud. Oh, look. It seems someone has also flagged Daniel Harrington's passport in the shared airline database. He's going to have a very interesting time at check-in, not just with Aerolux, with any airline. She was an artist, a terrifying artist. Catherine, you don't have to… Yes, I do, she said. They see us as old. They see us as finished. They see us as ATMs. It's time they see what we're capable of. The confirmation email is on its way, Mr. Harrington, she said, her voice professional again. The tickets are canceled. The penalties are, as you requested, severe. Is there anything else I can help you with today? No, Catherine, I said, my voice shaking. You've done more than enough. Thank you. You take care of yourself, Elijah, she said, and hung up. I looked at the email that pinged on my phone. Cancelled. The poison was now the medicine. By 8 a.m. it was done. Patrick had called back. All gone, Elijah. The Savoy Grand, the Palazzo in Rome, the Arts in Barcelona, every tour, every transfer. It's like you were never there. You lost, wow, you lost $12,500 in penalties, right off the top. It's the best 12 grand I ever spent, Patrick. I owe you. Just take me to lunch, old friend, he said, and hung up. I stood up. I felt light. The weight of that $42,000, the weight of their expectations, it was gone. I took a long, hot shower. I put on my navy blue dress pants, the ones I saved for funerals. I put on my crispest white shirt. I combed my hair, what's left of it. I even put on a little of the polo cologne Rosalind bought me. If my son was coming to perform his great, tragic play, I was going to look like a respectable man, not the fool he thought I was. I went to the kitchen and brewed a pot of chicory coffee the way my mother taught me, strong, dark, and a little bitter. I put on some music, B.B. King, the blues. I sat at my kitchen table and waited. The clock ticked, 9 a.m. That's when he'd said they'd be by. 9:15 a.m., 9:30 a.m. My legs started to bounce. I stood up, walked to the window. No sign of his car. Where were they? Was he already at the airport, trying to check in? Was Catherine's plan already in motion? The anticipation was killing me. I wanted to see his face. I wanted to hear the lies. I wanted to play my part as the confused, heartbroken old man. I had my lines ready. Oh no, son, that's terrible. What can we do? I was ready for my Oscar. The clock ticked to 8:45 a.m. My phone rang. It was Daniel. I smiled. Showtime. I let it ring 3 times, then picked up. Hello, son. You on your way? The voice that came through the phone was not the one I was expecting. It wasn't the concerned, loving son voice. It was a scream. What did you do? I was so stunned I pulled the phone away from my ear. Daniel, what are you talking about? I'm just waiting for you. Don't! You lie! He roared. Don't you play your senile old man act with me? I just got an email from Aerolux. Your cancellation is confirmed. What cancellation, Dad? What did you do? My blood ran cold. The script. He wasn't following the script. My element of surprise, my gotcha moment, the satisfaction of watching him lie to my face. It was gone. He knew. And the hotel, he kept screaming. I called the Savoy Grand. No reservation, Monsieur Harrington. No reservation. You canceled it. You canceled the whole trip. I heard Veronica wailing in the background. He ruined it. I told you. He's a spiteful old bastard. He ruined it. Daniel, calm down, I said, my voice shaking. This wasn't the plan. Calm down? Calm down? He yelled. $42,000, Dad. Our money. You just threw it away. We're coming over. You are going to fix this. You are going to call your contacts, and you are going to fix this now. The line went dead. I looked at the phone in my hand. My advantage. My secret. It was all gone. He wasn't coming over to lie to me. He was coming over to attack me. I heard the sound of a car, tires screeching as it turned onto my street, and I knew I had about 30 seconds. I didn't have time to lock the door. It burst open, slamming against the wall so hard I thought the plaster would crack. Daniel stood there, his face purple with rage. He looked like a stranger, a wild animal. Veronica was right behind him, her face a mask of tears and fury. You did this, she shrieked, pointing at me. You ruined my children's vacation. My grandchildren, Mia and Connor, were clinging to her legs, crying. They were terrified, not of me, of their own parents. That's what broke me. Get out, I said, my voice low. We are not getting out. Daniel stormed into my living room, sweeping a stack of magazines off the coffee table. You senile, you spiteful. How dare you? How dare me? I found my voice. It was louder now. How dare you, Daniel? What are you talking about? He spat. I'm talking about you throwing away a fortune. Out of what? Spite? Because you weren't the center of attention? I'm talking about last night, I said, taking a step toward him. I'm talking about your kitchen. I'm talking about the old relic. Veronica's face went white. She stopped shrieking. Daniel. Daniel just stared at me. The rage in his eyes flickered, replaced by something else. Panic. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered. Oh, you don't? I walked right up to him. You don't know about the oversold flight, your brilliant plan to ditch the old man. You don't know about me being your ATM? I was yelling now. I was roaring. All the pain, all the betrayal, it came pouring out of me. You thought I was a fool, I yelled, jabbing a finger into his chest. You thought I was just some idiot you could manage. You thought you could take my money, my wife's inheritance, and leave me at the airport like a piece of luggage. Daniel stumbled back. Dad, we were just stressed. You were just thieves, I roared. Fix it, Veronica hissed from the doorway. Her voice was like a snake. I don't care about your little drama. You made a mess, old man. Now you fix it. Call your friends. Get the trip back. Get it back? I laughed. It was a horrible, rusty sound. You think this is a game? You think I can just undo this? Yes, Daniel shouted, finding his anger again. You're Elijah Harrington. You built Harrington Tours. You know everyone. You pick up that phone, and you tell them there was a mistake. You tell them to reinstate the tickets, the hotels, everything. Why should I? I asked, my voice suddenly calm. Why? Daniel looked at me like I was insane. Why? Because of Mia. Because of Connor. Look at them. You're breaking their hearts. This was for them. He pointed to his crying children. He was using them. Even now, using them as a shield. That's when I knew it was truly over. I looked past Daniel, past Veronica, and I looked at my grandchildren. Mia, Connor, I said, my voice soft. Come here. They looked at their parents, then at me. Mia, my brave little Mia, let go of her mother's pants and ran to me, burying her face in my legs. Granddad, she sobbed, why is Daddy yelling at you? I want to go to Paris. I knelt, wincing at the pain in my knees. I held her face in my hands. I know, my love. I know you do, I whispered, my heart breaking for the first and only time that day. And I am so sorry. I am so sorry. This trip, Granddad messed it up. It's not happening. But you promised, she whispered. I know. And I'm breaking that promise. And that's my fault. But not as much as it's other people's. I stood up, turning back to Daniel. You want me to fix it? I said, my voice flat. You want me to call Patrick? You want me to call Catherine? You want me to beg them to undo what I paid $12,500 to do? Daniel's eyes went wide. 12,000. Penalties, son, I said. That's the price of dignity. It's expensive, but it's worth every penny. You're insane, Veronica whispered, backing away. You're actually insane. No, I said. I'm finally sane. For 34 years, I've been the man you wanted me to be. The dad who fixes everything. The grandpa who pays for everything. The ATM. You said it yourself, Daniel. I walked over to him. He was taller than me, younger, stronger, but in that moment, he looked small. The ATM is closed, Daniel, I said, my voice just above a whisper. The account is empty. The bank is bankrupt. You wanted a vacation without the old relic? You have it. You're free. I walked past him to my front door, the one he'd burst through. I opened it wide. Now get out of my house. Dad, he pleaded. His voice was small now. Dad, please, don't do this. Think about the kids. I am thinking about them, I said, my voice breaking. I'm thinking about what a monster they have for a father. Get out. He stood there, broken. Veronica grabbed his arm. Let's go, Daniel. He's won. The old bastard has won. They grabbed the crying kids, pulling them by the arms. I hate you, Daniel spat at me as he walked out the door. You've ruined this family. No, son, I said, as I watched them pile into their car. You did. I closed the door. I locked the deadbolt, and I stood there in the silence of my living room, my entire body shaking. I had won. It felt awful. I turned off my phone. I couldn't stand to look at it. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I didn't eat. I just sat in Rosalind's chair, listening to the silence. Around 2 p.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to hear a friendly voice. I needed to know I wasn't the monster. I turned my phone back on, ignoring the string of hateful texts from Daniel and Veronica. I looked up a number in my old address book. Raymond Ray Calloway, my best friend. We'd built our businesses together, my tours, his trucking. I hadn't seen him in 2 years. Not since Rosalind's funeral. I'd been too busy being an ATM. He answered on the first ring. Calloway's hauling. Ray, I said. Elijah Harrington? Is that you, you old ghost? I thought you'd fallen off the earth. Hearing his voice, so full of life, I broke. I broke. I told him everything. The whole ugly, sordid story, from the kitchen to the confrontation. Ray just listened. When I was done, all I could hear was his breathing. Well, hell, he finally said. It's about time. What? It's about time you remembered who you are, Elijah. I've been watching that boy bleed you dry for a decade. Helen and I, we just didn't know how to say it. He said I ruined the family, Ray. He's the one who's been poisoning it. You just administered the antidote. Now listen to me. You're coming over, tomorrow, 10 a.m. Helen's making biscuits and gravy, and I'm not taking no for an answer. I hung up feeling lighter. I ate some toast. I watched the news. I pretended it was a normal night. Around 10:30 p.m., I was getting ready for bed. My phone, which I'd left on, rang. An international number. France. I picked it up. Dad! Dad! Oh my God! Dad, please! It was Daniel. He was sobbing, hysterical. We're at the airport. Charles de Gaulle. The transfer. It never came. The hotel. They said the reservation was canceled. No payment, they said. They wouldn't even let us in the lobby. I could hear the airport announcements in the background. I could hear Mia and Connor wailing. What do we do, Dad? He cried. We're stranded. We don't have enough money for a new hotel. Not a hotel like that. And the airline? They won't let us rebook. They said the tickets are void. Suspicious activity. What does that even mean? I heard Veronica snatch the phone. You did this, she screamed. You did this to us. The children are freezing. They're hungry. This is all your fault. You... Daniel got the phone back. Dad, please, just send us some money. Just enough to get a cheap hotel. Just enough to get home. The kids. Dad, please, for the kids. I stood in my dark bedroom, the phone pressed to my ear. I listened to my son, a 34-year-old man, weeping like a child. I listened to my grandchildren crying in a cold foreign airport, 8 time zones away. This was the hardest part. This was the test. "Daniel," I said. My voice was calm. It didn't even sound like mine. "Dad! Yes, I'm here," he said, a note of desperate hope in his voice. "Do you remember last night, in your kitchen? What you told Veronica?" "What? What? I don't... Dad, this isn't the time." "You told her you'd been manipulating me your whole life," I said, my voice like ice. "You told her you were smart, that I was an idiot who always believed you." "No, Dad, I didn't mean it. I was just..." "If that's true, son," I said, cutting him off, "if you're really that smart, then you're smart enough to solve this problem on your own." The silence on the line was a chasm. I could hear him breathing. "Dad, please," he whispered. "I needed a son, Daniel," I said, and my own voice cracked just once. "For 34 years, I needed a son who loved me. Not my wallet, but I learned to live without it. You," I said, "are going to learn too." I hung up the phone. I didn't turn it off. I just set it on the nightstand. It rang again, and again, and again. I lay down in the dark, listening to the buzz. It buzzed for an hour. Then I went to sleep. And for the first time in years, I slept like the dead. The next morning, I woke up feeling like a new man. The sun was streaming through the window. The house felt mine again. I made my coffee strong and black. I called Global Travel Partners. "Mr. Harrington," the young woman on the line said, "we've got your final refund amount. After all the penalties, the total being returned to your account is $29,500. I'd paid $12,500 for the most important lesson of my life. A bargain." At 10 a.m., I was at Ray's house. His wife, Helen, hugged me so hard I thought my ribs would crack. "Elijah Harrington, you get in here. You look too skinny." We sat in his backyard under a giant pecan tree. Helen brought out a tray piled high with biscuits, gravy, scrambled eggs, and bacon. "Good Lord, Helen, you trying to kill me?" I laughed. "Trying to bring you back to life, son," she said, winking. I told Ray the rest. The phone call from France. Hanging up. Ray just nodded, sipping his coffee. "You did the right thing, Elijah." "It felt wrong, Ray. The kids will be fine," he said, setting his mug down. "They'll be home, but they'll have learned something. They'll have seen their father for who he is, a man who can't solve his own problems. You didn't just teach Daniel a lesson, you taught them one." He leaned forward. "You know, American parents, we have this curse. We think loving our kids means giving them everything. We're so afraid they'll fail, we never let them try. We turn them into eternal children. You just forced Daniel to finally grow up. It's gonna hurt, but it's what he needed." Helen came back out. "What are you two old men talking about so seriously?" "About how Elijah here just became a man again," Ray said, smiling. We sat there for hours, just talking. About the old days, about Rosalind, about our health. It felt good. It felt normal. "You know," Ray said, lighting a cigarette, "a bunch of us old-timers were planning a trip July." "Oh yeah?" I said. "Where to? Florida?" "The Amazon," he said. I stopped. The Amazon? Like the rainforest?" "The one and only," he said, blowing a smoke ring. "Nothing fancy, Elijah. No 5-star hotels. We're staying in lodges, eating fish from the river, getting eaten by mosquitoes. We're going to see those old ruins, the ones we always talked about. It was a dream I'd had since I was a boy. A dream I'd put off. For the business. For the family. For Daniel. We leave July 15th, Ray said, watching me. 2 weeks, $5,000, all in. You in? I looked at him. I thought about my 209500. I thought about my empty, quiet house. I thought about the French classes I'd always wanted to take. I'm in, I said. Book it. The next few weeks were a blur. I started living again. I enrolled in a beginner's French course at the local community college. At 69? The young professor asked. It's never too late, I said. I started volunteering at the senior center, delivering meals. I met men who had no one, no sons, grateful or ungrateful. It put things in perspective. I was getting my life back. I found out, through the grapevine, what happened in Paris. Veronica had to call her parents in tears. They had to sell a small piece of land they owned to wire them the money for economy-class tickets home. The family returned to Atlanta a week late, humiliated and in debt. Daniel didn't call. He didn't come by. A month passed. April, the azaleas in my yard bloomed. Then, one Saturday afternoon, I was pruning Rosalind's roses. I heard the gate click. It was Daniel, alone. He looked awful. He'd lost weight. He had dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were wrinkled. He just stood there on the path, watching me. Hi, Dad, he said. His voice was a whisper. Hello, Daniel, I said, putting the shears down. Come in. He sat in the living room, not in his usual chair. He sat on the edge of the sofa like a stranger who wasn't planning on staying. I just sat in my armchair and waited. Finally, he looked up. His eyes were red. Dad, he said, and his voice broke. I came to ask for your forgiveness. And he started to cry, not the hysterical sobs from the airport. This was the silent, racking grief of a man who has lost everything. He cried for a long time. I just let him. Daniel, I said when he was finished. Don't ask me for forgiveness. He looked up, confused. Ask for forgiveness from the Elijah Harrington you killed. The father who believed he had a perfect son. The fool who thought his love was returned. That man is dead, Daniel. You and Veronica, you killed him. No, Dad, I do love you, he choked out. I do, I don't know what happened. I saw you with all that money, Rosalind's money, and I was struggling. With the mortgage, the kids. I got angry. I felt like you owed me, like you owed it to us. I nodded. I know. I leaned forward. You want to know the truth, son? I'm not angry at you. Not anymore. You're not? No, I said. I'm grateful. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. You did me a favor, Daniel, I said. You showed me what I'd become. An ATM with legs, a man with no dignity, no self-respect, a man just waiting to die. You gave me my life back. I told him everything. I told him about the French classes, about the volunteer work, about Ray and Helen. I'm going to the Amazon, Daniel, I said. In 3 weeks. For me. Not for you. Not for the grandkids. For me, He just stared. He was seeing me for the first time. Not as Dad, but as Elijah. Is there any way to fix this? He finally whispered. To be a family again? I stood up and looked out the window at Rosalind's roses. Family, I said. That's a complicated word. The family we were, that's over. It was built on lies, your lies, and my weakness. I turned back to him. If you want to be my son again, You have to start from scratch, not as a boy asking for an allowance, but as an adult man, a man who relates to another adult man, with respect, with honesty. I walked to the door and opened it. "Go home, Daniel," I said. "Go take care of your wife. Go be a father to your children. Pay back your in-laws. Get a second job if you have to. Become a man your children can actually be proud of." He stood up slowly. He looked like he wanted to hug me. I just kept my hand on the door. He nodded once, and he left. That was 3 months ago. My house on Pinecrest Avenue is quiet, but it's not the empty, anxious quiet from before. It's a peaceful quiet. In 3 weeks, I'm leaving for the Amazon. My bag is already half packed. My French is terrible, but the professor says I have a certain enthusiasm. Daniel, he's paying back his in-laws. He took a night job. He calls me once a week, on Sunday night. The calls are awkward. He asks about my health. I ask about the kids. We don't talk about money. We don't talk about Paris. It's a start. A very, very small start. I don't know if we'll ever be the family we were. I pray to God we're not. I hope one day we can be something better. Something real, but for now, I'm just focused on me. On Elijah Harrington. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. They know right where to cut. But sometimes that wound is what saves you. It's the wake-up call. Daniel taught me that I had confused love with money. He taught me that being generous doesn't mean you have to be a fool. And he taught me that dignity isn't something anyone can give you. It's something you have to take for yourself. In the end, my friend, dignity is not negotiable. You either have it or you don't. And I just got mine back. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.